us.
Thank you.
So this is kind of a personal subject for me too, because I grew up in the restaurant industry, and I know
Sure.
that having a liquor license is bread and butter for a lot of business owners, and responsible ones can make a great living that way.
Yeah.
But when you have to pay such high rates for insurance, it negates the profits. But tell us what the logic is behind a particular section in South Carolina law that makes anyone responsible should someone do something bad after having a drink.
Yeah, and those have to do with our tort laws, what's known as joint and several, which I wish I could tell you what the thought process was when that was placed into law. It certainly doesn't make sense to make people that aren't responsible pay the bills or pay the claims for accidents that happen that they had nothing to do with, or in most cases very little to do with. I think that everybody wants folks to, if they're responsible for something, then they should be put up front to pay those bills and those claims. But when they're not,
yeah,
it's tough.
And if I may say, you know, South Carolina, as opposed to some other states in the country, you practically get a liquor license when you come off the plane. It's much easier to get one here. However, you also need to carry the liquor liability insurance.
Yeah.
Now, you gave a really good example as to what this means for responsible business owners. So, go out to dinner, have a glass of wine.
Yeah.
I go to a bar and I drink myself into a tizzy. Well, if I get into an accident, if I cause an accident or do something wrong, then what does this mean for the first business where I had just one glass of wine?
Well, under the laws now, that first business is allowed to be brought into the lawsuit. And what happens in most cases, many of the folks that are brought into the lawsuit, and they're not just going to bring in one, they're going to bring everybody that was involved that night. And probably rightfully so, to make sure who's responsible.
Sure.
But what it does is it says if you are 1% responsible, you could be on the hook for all of the damages, because most of the other entities that are involved in that, because of these large insurance settlements that are being paid out, are afraid. The insurance companies are afraid, the businesses are afraid, they tender their maximum coverages and they're out of the suit, and that can leave somebody with a relatively small responsibility to bear all of the weight.
For a business owner, I would be frightened.
It's tough.
Right?
It's tough. So most of these businesses are small businesses,
yes,
right?
Exactly.
And we get caught up in the alcohol related, but this issue permeates through all businesses.
Yeah.
Manufacturing, transportation, really any small business out there. Government needs to get out of the way and let good people, honest people make an honest living, do the right thing, and get out of their way. And hold those responsible for accidents responsible. But if you're not responsible, you shouldn't be held responsible.
So what is the section number? It's 61-2-145.
Yeah, that sounds right. I don't know.
Okay, so this is the section in question, and when was this passed?
2017, I think. You're talking about the liquor liability requirement?
Right.
2017.
2017. Yeah. And so with every progressing year, it's just been getting more and more expensive. And why is it getting so much more expensive now than it was?
Again, because the Department of Insurance is telling us that claims paid are twice as much as premiums being collected.
Yeah, so who's benefiting by this exactly?
You know, it's hard to say who's benefiting. Certainly people that are injured are benefiting. I think the lawyers that are involved in those are certainly benefiting. The insurance companies aren't benefiting as much, because if they were benefiting, they'd be staying here in the state. And the reality is they're leaving the state. I mean, we have a handful of insurance companies where we used to have 20, 25. We have 3, maybe 5 companies that are offering that type of insurance now.
So what do people do? And what happens if they all decide to go?
Well, they pay a lot more money. I mean, I had a constituent in my community that operates a small brewery, a small family-owned brewery, employs 8 people, 8 people that wouldn't have a job. Their insurance rates went from $3,500 last year to $22,000 this year.
Oh my goodness.
In just 1 year's time.
Exponential.
0 claims. 0 claims for that client. And the reality is these insurance companies are having a hard time underwriting the risk. It's easy for them to underwrite the risk of their client, of their customers. They know their history, they know their traditions, they know what they do. What they can't underwrite for is the behavior of others.
Oh, of course, right, exactly. So is there a common sense approach to this? Is there any way to massage this out and to get more on an even playing field where there's a balance there?
We absolutely need to do that. We need to look at our tort reform laws. We need to look at these laws, the requirements. Are they too onerous? Are they not onerous enough? If we look at our surrounding states, we are the only one with this problem. So we need to look to our neighboring states to see what they're doing, and base our laws somewhat on their experiences, because we are an outlier right now.
So as premiums continue to climb, how long is it going to take to sort of match the surrounding states and get back onto level ground?
It depends. If it's a legislative fix, which it sounds like it is, we need the public to get involved and to contact their legislators and say, take a look at this.
Yeah.
They don't necessarily need to advocate for a certain position. They just need to say, you need to take a look at this, because we've got small businesses every day that are going out of business in this state.
Yeah.
With the economy like it is, as strong as it is, for a small business owner in South Carolina to go out of business, it's nonsensical.
So this could be years in the making, years in the correcting.
All tough things take some time.
Sure.
I'm hopeful that it doesn't take years.
Senator, thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate it. We're back after this.